And that is also what I'm looking for, somebody who knows when to go.
Bye-bye.
0345 6060 973. Phil in Chester says, do they hold Guinea Pig Awareness Week in Peru? I ate a lovely one when I was there, says Phil. I bet they taste a bit like chicken. Di in Dagenham says, why not have a Bigfoot Awareness Week? If they're not on the endangered list, then they should be. Let's have the Isle of Wight, Sarah Jane.
Hello, hiya.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, I've got two things to talk about that I mentioned to your producer. But first of all, can I just mention about the Guinea Pig Awareness Week? It is ridiculous that it's been cancelled because of what's happened.
It's been postponed, I believe.
Postponed. But just on the back of what you were saying about why do we need to be aware of guinea pigs, and also this thing about large animal vets and small animal vets. I've worked in veterinary practices in the past, and first of all, guinea pigs, I think the awareness thing, a big awareness thing about guinea pigs is that they shouldn't be solitary creatures, so they need to live with other guinea pigs or with rabbits, and they get really sad and lonely if they don't. So that's one thing. That's probably why there is a guinea pig awareness week. Okay. It may sound a bit silly, and a lot of your listeners might not.
Is that a bit like cats? Because cats much prefer to be in the company of other cats, don't they?
No, not at all. No.
But hang on a minute. Don't they prefer?
No.
Wait a minute.
No.
Wait.
Okay.
Don't they? Hang on. Don't they prefer to be in the company of cats from their own family?
Possibly, but they don't always get on. But you try and put a cat with another cat. Cats are generally solitary creatures, so they're used to fending for themselves. Before we actually brought them into our households and things, back in the day in their ancestry, they are solitary creatures. They hunt and do everything solitary. They're not pack animals like dogs are. So generally, cats don't like to live with other cats. But you do get cats that are quite happy to live with another cat, especially if it's a brother or a sister or a mum. But no, generally, cats don't like living with other cats.
Well, I do bow to your expertise in this regard, but I know loads of people who've got loads of cats. The nice lady living next door to me's got 4.
Yeah? Yeah, they might be actually quite stressed. They might actually live together, but they can be quite stressed. They might not be curling up together and lovey-dovey love each other.
Right.
If they do, that's great, and it can happen.
And what's the difference between a big vet and a small vet then?
Okay, so big vets means farm animals. It doesn't mean the difference between if you've got a big dog or a small dog. So large animal veterinary practice is a veterinary practice that actually deals with farm animals.
Large animals.
And then your small, so the definition of a small animal veterinary practice is one that deals with your domestic pets like your cats and dogs.
And are the vets selected in their training for the length of their arms?
Oh, well, I couldn't possibly answer that question.
Good. Glad to hear it. All right, thanks a lot, Sarah Jane. 0345 6060 973. This tweet says, I was in the queue yesterday and it took me 9 hours. While in the queue, some student from the nearby university came up and asked to do a survey on why we were mourning. One of the questions was, why are you queuing to mourn? What do you think? Well, I guess it's a good question. And the reason will be dependent on whoever it is you're asking the question of. There's a million different reasons if you've got a million different people. I mean, the sort of median average reason would be in order to pay my respects. But other reasons will be in order to be part of a news event, in order to post photographs of myself in the queue to social media to get likes from strangers, or it was a thing and I wanted to be a part of a free event. There's no end of reasons. Paul says, all I'm saying is Charles better not die for at least 5 years. We're counting on you, Charles. 0345 6060 973. Let's see who's been waiting the longest. It looks like Weybridge. Julius.
Evening, Nick.
Julius.
Are you well?
Yes, very well, thanks.
May I welcome you back and add my sentiments to your other callers?
Well, very nice of you. Thank you.
I didn't much care for the alternative on offer, and your dastardly plan worked. I had to resort to going and getting one of your podcasts and downloading it.
Which one? Which one was it?
Well, I think it was the latest one with Carol, because I recall laughing at the way you were riffing off one another, Nickers.
She is a laugh. Yeah.
It cheered me up in your absence, so thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. That's the podcast called "What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol?" It is the hour in the week in which I laugh the most. It's like it is concentrated amusement, and we just sort of bounce off each other like rubber balls.
I basked in the reflective humour, so thank you.
Right, appreciate it.
Now, this queue arrangement matter, whether it's intentional performative nonsense or total incompetence. Are you familiar with the What Three Words app,
Yes.
geolocating app?
I am.
Have you seen what's happened this evening with the DCMS, the Departure for Culture, Media and Sports, posting the end of the queue and getting it wrong?
By thousands of miles.
Well, you're supposed to be going to London Bridge and you're ending up in Yosemite Park in California.
Right.
Or North Carolina.
That would be a big queue.
You couldn't make it up.
And many of the people in that queue would be very wet right now.
Well, you couldn't have a much further long wait.
They'd be treading water.
The other thing that occurred to me is you started your show with our friend Peter in Guildford saying how under crisis the NHS is. But I'm wondering if they're going to send in a bill for the 400 people they've had to pick up off the pavement who've collapsed, many of whom reportedly have ended up with head injuries.
Is it 400?
400.
Well, it's bound to be something like that. It just seems wrong. It seems as though somebody has made a decision. This is not... It just didn't accidentally happen like this. Somebody has made a decision to corral thousands of people together for a demonstration of how the country is feeling. But it is not that. It is how those people in the queue are feeling. And we don't need the pictures to like the long shot of the snaking queue. We just give us the number of the people that are going through. We'll believe you. Those people don't have to wait that long. And particularly as I would imagine that the average age of those people waiting in the queue is old. I mean, I won't put a number on it, but the fans of the royal family tend to be older. And so you're asking people to do something that they would never have done in their adult lives, to stand waiting for all of that time, for an entire day in what is, at the moment, inclement weather. It's cold outside. So and you can't rest because being a queue, of course, it's constantly moving. It just seems completely unreasonable. But the reason must be either total incompetence, they just didn't think about it, or they're trying to demonstrate the nation's love of, and it's not just the Queen, of course, it's the royal family, because the firm doesn't stop for a second. It continues rolling because that's what the institution is all about.
Well, we previously discussed that. You sent me to the Tower at the time, but we agreed on this, Nick. But the other observation that hasn't come up much, and as somebody here with health issues is notable, is that there has been no provision for disabled access that I'm aware of.
I think there has actually. I think there is a smaller queue, and
this evening I did notice that they'd put up a site on the DWP saying, you can register here now or something, but originally there wasn't.
Well, maybe.
And it certainly wasn't publicised in as much detail. So you're right. There has now been.
But I think it starts at Tate Britain, which is still a long way from there to Westminster Hall.
Does it? I was reading online. I thought that they'd actually done some timed ticketing or something. But either way, it still feels pretty discriminatory to start with the whole concept of queuing. And
I think it's to have a visual representation of the amount of support. That can be the only reason. And for that purpose, those people are being forced to endure those conditions, which just doesn't seem right.
Well, especially when they're going to have another 14 hours afterwards in A&E.
Well, yeah, but good luck with that. All right, thanks a lot, Julius. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC.
Please hold the line. I'm trying to connect you.
Yes, at the moment, I'm trying to connect a call in. Let's see who's been waiting the longest. Be totally fair about this. Totnes. Hello, David.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yes, I'm great, mate.
Right.
Well, it was great talking to you.
I don't wish to bring the tone down about all the other issues in the world at the moment.
No. Oh no, here we go.
But I want to talk about vets, the thing you brought up a while ago.
Vets.
About small animals, large animals.
Right.
Do you remember?
I remember it like it was only 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. What's your feelings on this?
On what?
On why vets deal with either small animals or large animals?
I think it's racist. I don't know.
That was naughty. No.
Is that the answer you were looking for? Sexist?
No.
Sizist?
No.
I bet it's sizist.
No. God, you're prompting me here. I reckon it's because, in one way, veterinary practices have to make a living, and they may do.
Who has to make a living?
Vets.
Vets have to make a living, yeah.
Yeah. And
any way they can, yeah.
Well, yes, and possibly the small animal business about pets is
higher profit, more turnover. They can store more small animals in the fridge at the back.
No, you're being mean here and unreasonable, but you know.
But I wonder what point it is that you're trying to make there, David.
Are you? What do you reckon?
Leave it with me and I'll have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. What do I reckon? Is what I reckon. Thanks a lot, David, for whatever that was. 0345 6060 973. Johnny texts, I'd like to talk about guinea pigs. My best friend, Juan, is a native Ecuadorian who lived in the jungle. He's currently living in Norway. He tells me guinea pigs were their staple diet. Yeah, I seriously doubt that. I mean, there can't be any meat on a guinea pig apart from anything else. Plus, so cute. Anne in Rochester texts, I mean, there isn't any animal that we eat a lot of that is actually cute, is there? We have a thing about that. If an animal is above 5 on the cuteness scale, we won't eat it. We'll keep it as a pet. In fact, we'll put it in a cage and torture it in solitary confinement for the rest of its life. But eating it is where we draw the line. Because, that would be cruel. Name a cute animal that we eat. There isn't one. Anne in Rochester says, I mean, no offence to cows, but they look more surreal than cute. That's just a fact. Ask Pink Floyd what they think.
Rock and roll!
Anne in Rochester says, can any of your listeners please explain why weary and aching people have to go through the big square in a zigzag fashion before they go into Westminster Hall? It must add a mile to the distance that they walk. I'm sure there is a logical reason, but I'm not a very logical person. Just let them walk in a straight line, I say, says Anne. It does seem a bit cruel because you think once you get into the park, well, I'm almost there. But then they've got that zigzag fashion thing, like queuing up for a ride at Disney World. So you think you're there, you can see where you're trying to get to, but it's much, much further away than you think. You know, those things that they have when you're queuing to show your passport before you wait for 3 hours trying to get into the EU. One of those. I think, again, it's just to corral people into photographable areas in order to demonstrate the amount of respect, both nationally and internationally, that this country is paying towards the Queen in particular and the royal family in general. Because, like I said, the institution doesn't stop for a second. It's already on to the next. 0345 6060 973. Let's see. East Yorkshire, Mike.
Hiya, Nick. Yeah, great you're back. You had me worried last week. I thought, major editorial policy dispute? No. But anyway, a couple of things. Wildly different, but related, actually. Yeah. You mentioned Brexit. You missed the Brexit bonus this week.
Wait a minute, let me guess. The Brexit bonus this week. Give me a clue.
Bankers.
Oh, bankers. No! Yes. Well, it's not so much a Brexit bonus as the reason for Brexit in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the little people get nothing, but the rich get richer.
Yep.
And that relates to the other thing this week. The thing that annoyed me most was not only the item itself, but the reason that was given. Charlie Boy isn't going to pay any inheritance tax.
Yes.
And the reason given, John Major, he said, I don't want to see the royal estate salami sliced and reduced. Well, if you salami sliced the royal estate, it would take 40,000 years before there was any noticeable difference.
Yeah. And why would he not want the royal family estate salami sliced when he's perfectly okay with everybody else's estate to be salami sliced? That doesn't make any sense at all, other than there's one rule for those at the very, very top, or rather there are no rules for those at the top, and all of the rules apply to us.
Exactly. The rich can keep the money, the same as the bankers thing. And the two things sort of rang with me a bit. But if I can just do a quick one on the vets.
Yeah.
Years ago, my vet practice got a new vet, a new recruit, Glaswegian woman, lovely woman. And I took a ferret in. And I wasn't expecting to see a ferret. It had an upset.
Why did you have a ferret?
Because I catch rabbits with them.
Oh, why do you catch rabbits?
Because the vermin and eat the crops. One of my roles is pest control.
Oh, wow, you're going to upset a lot of people with that. Nothing to do with me.
I love eating fluffy bunny rabbits, but this woman walked in and she said, when you're the new recruit at a practice, you always get the same problems. She said, I get the bulls, the stallions, the ferrets and the snakes. I can't wait till someone else follows me into the practice. I can get rid of them. So she did both the big bad ones and the little bad ones.
Yeah. The snakes. I mean, is there much call for a snake expert in this country? I mean, how many people have snakes as pets? And what kind of a weird thing would that actually constitute?
I've no idea, but I did have a friend had kept bearded dragons, which are big lizards, and they were forever at the vets.
So that's a tip. If you're thinking of a pet, then a bearded dragon, not for you.
It's expensive, not only to buy, but they've got to be kept with it between two certain temperatures, and they must have the humidity right, and they must have everything else right. And if not, you have to take them to the vets and get injected with something. So.
Right. Well, but I would just choose not to have one in the first place. How about spiders?
Oh, I don't know about that.
No.
No, my mate used to keep tarantulas. Why on earth anyone would do that? God only knows.
Well, let's ask Gavin Williamson. Yeah, he didn't really know either. He just kept it because it made him, him seem evil and Machiavellian and weird. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Suella Braverman is the Home Secretary. Can you believe that?
No.
I mean, I thought that Bodger's cabinet was a comedy clown show, but Liz Truss has gone one louder.
That is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. Steve emails, well, at least the government now knows we will be prepared to queue for our daily handout of food stamps or electric rations. Electric rations. Oh, electric rations. Gotcha. Benjamin texts, I grew up in France and rabbit was part of the regular diet and it is cute. Well, that's true. Rabbits are cute. I don't know what they taste like, though. I don't believe I've ever eaten one. It doesn't seem like there'd be very much meat on a rabbit, but there are a lot of them. Why is that?
Disgusting.
David emails, I'm amazed two wags haven't yet turned up in a wheelchair. Then one pulls the other out of it, yelling, yeah, okay. Don't worry about it. It's a listener with material. This tweet says, the interesting thing is we have great virtual queuing systems, so there is no need for people to be there for more than a few hours. It's the state manipulating the situation to make it look like the whole country is doffing its cap to its betters. Essentially, I believe that is what is happening. There is no reason for all of those people to be waiting that long. For those people to be that age and having to go through this just in order for them to feel as though they've done their bit, or for whatever reason that they're there for, is completely unreasonable. If you've got people fainting on a pavement, someone could die. But, it's either total a lack of thoughtlessness, or it's the plan. Corral you all into a photographable crowd, by which method you can demonstrate the support for the institution. Because, as I said, it's not just about the Queen, because the family moves on instantly. There is no gap. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick. I'm very glad to know you're back. But very glad to have you back.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to share some thoughts about. Well, one, I think I'll make a point. One is on a very personal note, because it took me a while to understand my response to hearing the news of the Queen's death. But I'll first of all say something about the queue. I wanted to say something about it because my thoughts are on like the collective psyche of the nation with this, because it's like all eyes of the world are on Britain. How's Britain going to respond to this monarch who's part of the Commonwealth, and the old empire history says that there's so many nations, so many people in far-flung places of the world speak English, so the empire's gone, but not the Commonwealth, and not this. There's something in the collective psyche, I believe, that's kicked in. There's a lovely phrase for it, the participation mystique of what goes on, not on the conscious level, because, why are people there? There's an 81-year-old, I think I heard, speaking about being in the queue, and I thought, my God, someone at 81 who's queuing, and people are collapsing, and they're probably or camping out there, or what they can't take their things into, when they see her in state, when they see the Queen in state, they have to put them somewhere. Some people have gone there with camping stuff, and, as you say, there's kids there. But so it seems very... I think something in the collective psyche has kicked in. It's got to do with patriotism linked to the monarchy, but it's also a subconscious thing, this national, something in the national psyche, and then they know all eyes of the world are on the country.
I'm not sure that's right. I think we overestimate how important news stories are in this country to the rest of the world. I mean, they might have covered it, but it's certainly not from the front page to the back page on every newspaper the whole world over. It just isn't.
I thought. Well, I mean, the European countries, a lot of the countries, even Putin's.
Yeah, they recorded it. They reported it, but it's not like blanket coverage like it is here, because it's just not important to them. It's a news story because she's famous. Oh
yeah, but I think for the British, though, they know still that in a sense, the eyes of the world are on...
You keep saying that, but I don't think they are.
You don't think so?
What? When you say the eyes of the world, do you mean...
Look at how many people...
Are you implying that they have blanket coverage the whole world over like we do here?
Oh, no, I don't mean it in that way, but say the European countries or the Scandinavian ones, they're all related. All the royal families related to all the royalty still existing in the European countries, aren't they? They're related to Spain. Mm-hmm. France has gone overboard. Has gone overboard in its love of the Queen, and then the Scandinavian countries, they're all interlinked somewhere down the line with each other, the royalty. So it is important there. But anyway, I see. It is to do with patriotism, though. Then coming back to the nation, though.
I'm not sure that's true. People aren't queuing for patriotic reasons. It's not for the country; it's for the Queen. I mean, I know that they are indivisible, but it's specifically not because they're British. It's because they feel some connection with the Queen, or they support the royal family, or they just want to be part of a news event, or they want to take photographs of themselves to put on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is, or they just wanted to be a part of a news story. It's it'd be entertaining. It's a thing to do. I mean, there's 1,000 reasons. There's another reason for each individual in that line. But as for the nation's psyche, most of the nation isn't in that line. Most of the nation hasn't been watching the coverage 24 hours a day for the last week. Most of the nation has just been doing as the Queen would do under similar circumstances, getting on with it. Not pausing life for 2 weeks, because that's not, as far as I'm aware, that's not what she was about. She was about carrying on. But that's the opposite of what we're doing, grinding the entire nation to a halt. Even more so than on Christmas Day. Anyway, thanks a lot, Jan. 0345 6060 973. Obi texts, if Nando's can text me to come back to the restaurant when my table is ready, then I'm sure the government can figure out something similar for this queue. They could do. They have the technology. It's not hard. It just isn't. You just take a metaphorical number, like you used to do at the butcher's. You could go online and they'll give you a number, they'll give you a time, they can estimate when the small queue that would be outside Westminster Hall, when it would go through. They can tell you to show up at 3 o'clock in the morning if that's when your time is, and you can do that. You can wait 10 minutes, you can go through, and then you can come out the other side, and then you can go home and have a decent night's sleep. Some of these people in that queue are actually risking their lives just because somebody thought that it would be a good idea to have them queue outside in whatever weather happened to be prevalent at the time for a photo opportunity, which is, I think, essentially what this is. There's absolutely no justification for making aged people, wait for 24 hours in a slow-moving, shuffling queue. I mean, they can't even sit down. I mean, the more I think about it, the angrier is probably expressing too much, but it just seems bizarre, a bizarre choice to have made. Either no thought at all, or slightly sinister, actually. As far as what those poor people in that line are going to put themselves through, without any good reason. They just didn't have to do it that way. Ahmed emails, there was a guy at my university when I was studying in Beijing who kept an anaconda as a pet in his dormitory. I saw him coming in at odd hours of the night with boxes of mice. It seemed like it was keeping him as a pet. Well, that's pets though, isn't it? I mean, who's in charge? It's usually the pet. Let's have Carnforth. Hey, Penny.
Hey up, Nick. Nice to have you back.
Hey, Annie, thanks.
Safe to turn the radio on again. Been avoiding it for about the last 8 days, mainly listening to a lot of music. My own, I have hated
music. I like music.
Yes, definitely. Or even an Irish radio station at one point in desperation. Mm. Well, not in desperation because I like it, but just, to get away from British.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with you. I don't think this is just incompetence. I think this is deliberate to make everybody think in the country that the whole country is in a state of, tearing their hair out and that we're all absolute monarchists.
Corralling us into a sense of competitive mourning.
Yeah, and I think it's because the monarchy represent the absolute pinnacle of the class system, and that's where they want us. They want us all to know our place, and especially this government, because obviously they're ruling in favour of the rich. This is why they're, giving the bankers unlimited, taking the cap, off their bonuses. Poor bankers, poor souls, they're not earning enough, are they? Goodness me. So, so to improve productivity, they've got to be able to earn as much as they like. And yet the rest of us, if we ask for even our wages to keep up with inflation, then we're causing inflation.
Yes. When the government says what they want is a high-wage economy, what they mean is they don't want a high-wage economy. Whatever they say, just think the opposite of what they've just said, and that will probably be completely correct.
Well, they want the high-wage economy for a very tiny minority of people, but the rest of us, it's a very low-wage economy. Yeah, we're existing on bread and water soon. So
you'll be bread and water.
Yes, and that's expensive as well. But what I did ring up about was what you were talking about earlier about the protesters with their placards saying "Not my king," and the barrister who was holding up the one with nothing on it. And I was thinking about the irony of the Liz Truss et al. Shrieking on about Putin and the terrible dictatorship, which it is, but I mean there was a Russian journalist who was actually put in prison or arrested, wasn't she, for doing exactly that, holding up a blank placard on TV, and she was arrested.
Well, it's like I said before, the government used to be what would Donald Trump do, and now they've skipped ahead a while, and now they're doing what would Vladimir Putin do. Exactly.
I mean, it's very alarming. No good joking about it. It really is very alarming, I think, and we're on a real slippery slope. I think we've slid to the bottom of the slope. I don't think there's any. Hard to believe there's much slope left. No, there's not much. Protesting is illegal in this country. Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think it's. I think she is really scary, Liz Truss, and her lot that she's brought in now. They're even more scary than the last lot. They just seem to go from completely bad to worse. I mean, it's really hard to believe, but even at this short juncture, we're thinking, wow, Boris Johnson, those were the good old days. Yes, or even Theresa May, the voice of reason. But I think I almost feel now that they know that. Or quite possibly that Liz Truss, I think she knows either she'll be replaced by the Tory party if people don't like her enough, or they'll just lose the next election anyway. So they're just trying to get in and do absolutely everything dire that they're wanting to do, like, make sure that the bankers are... as much stuff that you can't reverse easily. Yes, and that they can get done before they might be out of power then for goodness knows how long, if they are out of power. But if you were in power for, let's say, the next 5 years, then you are going to preside over an absolute catastrophe. I mean, we aren't going to bounce out of this. It's going to be miserable. So I would bet that they have had discussions at high levels that it would be a good idea to actually, have a rest. We'll be in opposition for 5 years. We'll watch the Labour Party, or whoever it might be, try to wrestle with this disaster that we have created, and then we'll blame it all on them and sweep back into power 5 years later. Or 10, maybe. Yes, yeah, definitely. I think that. I think they're just thinking, oh my God, things are really dreadful at the moment. Let's do, what we really want to do. I mean, as much as they can get away with. I'm sure they'd like to privatise the health service ASAP, but I think they might have to go a bit slower on that. Although I had to go to a hospital just over a week ago now, and I have to say it really was like the third world. I'd never been to it before. It's about an hour from here, and our two local hospitals, well, they're pretty bad. There's 4 hospitals in our hospital trust, and it's in special measures now for the second time. Yeah. I don't know if there's anywhere else in the country that hospitals have been...
Well, Liz Truss herself said that her local hospital was being propped up with pylons. Like the roof was falling in. Well, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's like like pylons. So the roof is falling in. That's because they were competing with each other to tell us how dreadful things have been under the previous Johnson administration, as though they had nothing to do with it.
I know. Well, honestly, this hospital, I went in for a sort of day procedure, right? It looked so run down. I'd never been there before. I mean, the place is a weird place anyway, but it looked incredibly run down. When I went down to theatre, the theatre lift was broken, so they had to, in a theatre gown, they dragged me halfway around the hospital, in and out of lifts with people with no masks on. And then when I got into the theatre, because I'd chosen not to have a general anaesthetic, to have just because it made me really ill, I was having a local one, so I could see everything that was going on. There was only 2 of them in there out of 8 of them wearing scrubs, and I was thinking, Christ, can't they even afford the scrubs for all of them now? There was a nurse right up next to me, just in her general uniform, not even with an apron, plastic apron on like our carers wear. And I was thinking, what am I doing here? Where am I? The theatre looked like something out of the 1960s. The whole place just looked dreadful. Yep. And then when I came out afterwards, they said, you need this spray. And I said, right, and some other meds. And they did have the other thing, but they said, it'll be 5 hours before the pharmacy can send the... I said, I can't wait for 5 hours. I said, I've got a carer coming for me. Honestly, this was about 5:30 and in the evening.
The whole thing is falling apart, and if it isn't staggering incompetence on their part, then it's the plan. After 12 years, it has to be one or the other. This is not an accident.
No, it's the plan. I think it's the plan.
I wouldn't be surprised. Here, Annie, I'm past the break, but I've got to go. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. LBC.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. James in Canterbury says, I'm not sure why Philip Schofield felt it was okay to bend the rule on queuing. He bent it, but not like Beckham. I restate my case. The only person that I saw in the queue, and I've seen what must amount to hundreds of pictures of thousands of people, the only person that looked dressed for the occasion was David Bloomin' Beckham. Everybody else looked like they'd covered themselves in glue and rolled around in their wardrobe. Or they just picked up the least dirty thing off their bedroom floor. Shocking. Gaz tweets, the longest queue I've been in was waiting to get into Manchester Dental Hospital from 6:30 a.m. right round the building. It was midday by the time I got seen. I was in agony and I needed 3 teeth extracted. Yeah, and that's back to Annie talking about the NHS like it's a third world organisation, which it does seem to be, depending on where you are. Chessington, hello, Bill.
Oh, good evening, Nick. I didn't know you'd been away. But welcome back.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You're
welcome, mate. That's how much I missed you. Anyway.
Right.
What I was going to say to you was regarding this queuing.
Yeah.
I think I admire what they've done, how they've handled everything regarding the change of power and all the rest of it. But I think there's a couple of things they never took into account. I think their plan was that, or they took the idea that the Queen was going to pass away in England, possibly. Right? So therefore, Scotland wasn't on the agenda. Now, what's really happened is Scotland's ended up having a time with the Queen, which is fair enough and all good news. But the point is, that time would have been used for mourning down here if it had happened in England. So the time that they've allowed hasn't been enough based on what they're getting back.
Well, I don't know about any of that. I mean, why can't the people in Scotland show their respect just like the people in...
Of course they can. No, I agree with it. With it. I'm saying people make plans in front. So they're planning for, but they don't know the circumstances that are going to end up. So if she passed away in Scotland, and as I say, they deserve everything that they've done, and that's just fantastic.
So the same number of people could have moved through, but with extra days.
Yes, time.
Right.
They've got the time.
I'm not sure that people would have actually paid attention to much of that. They would have just joined the queue when they could, so the result would have been the same, surely.
Yeah, I'll agree with you because you've been pretty right so far. But the other thing they never took
really? That doesn't sound like me, but go on.
But the other thing they haven't taken into account is where the Parliament has had these problems with people going in there who shouldn't be there, they've had to put higher security on it. So that's delaying it. When Winston Churchill was buried or whatever, that was just a straight-through walk.
Well, they didn't have airport security then. Yeah.
Exactly, correct. And I think that's one of the things that's affected it.
Well, no, not really, because if that were the case, then there would be a small trickle of people actually coming through the other side of security and going into the hall. But there doesn't seem to be any impediment to that. So I think the trickle is at the speed, there's the same speed regardless. I mean, you can't have people run through. They've got to walk through at their own pace, and I think that's what determines the speed of the line. I just don't think that the line should be as long as it is. It's not necessary at all, and so the reason for it is either a lack of planning, and that's not the case either. This is not a surprise. The Queen was 96. Her death was not a surprise and had been planned for at least 10 years, to the last detail. So they knew this was coming. They knew how many people would show up, and they made them wait in line for a day in the cold anyway. That's just wrong. Thanks, Bill. 0345 6060 973. This text says, "We were delighted to be told you can go in now after just half an hour. We soon found ourselves at the top of the London Eye." Wrong queue. And this says, if Harry held up a sign saying, "Not my dad," would they arrest him? Let's have Vienna. Declan.
Hi, Nick. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, Declan.
I totally agree with you. I'm sitting watching the footage from the queuing, and they're definitely, I think they're maybe going for a world record of the longest queue or something like that, you know?
Right.
I always fly business because I always hate that zigzag thing, you know, when you're queuing.
Yeah.
You know, you walk around, and I'm tattooed as well, so if I meet a tattooed person in that line, you know, it's like, hey, what's up, you know?
Really? Do tattooed people acknowledge each other? And
yeah, we do, yeah. But then, you know, you turn the corner and you go again and say, hey, what's up? Yeah. And you get to the end of the line, oh, it's you again, kind of thing, you know, and it's like,
do you really acknowledge the presence of another tattooed person like you're part of a tribe?
Yeah,
really?
We do, yeah.
Now, do you have tattoos
strike
like
up
on your face?
No, I don't. No, I have my neck. My neck is tattooed.
Okay. Right.
But my neck is traditional tribal tattooed.
And so,
like
what's the conversation then? Like, where did you get yours done, or what's that supposed to be?
Mine are really interesting because they are traditional.
Right.
My throat is from the Borneo headhunters.
Well, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, it's a tribal tattoo. I have Maori tattoos done by Sharktooth.
So
I have old Viking tattoos and stuff.
Right.
You know.
Well, that sounds like an interesting, like a array of symbols or whatever it is. So do you actually say, "All right, mate, what's that supposed to be"?
Yeah. No, we know what it is, you know.
Right, okay.
What's worse is if somebody comes up and they have a little, you know, the name of their daughter or whatever, you know. I mean, I mean, I'm heavily tattooed, but yeah, we do.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Some nobody.
0345 6060 973. This text says, it's very British, I must admit. The line to see the Queen must be the longest in history. British love to queue. It's our favourite pastime. That and getting tattoos. I've never, don't have a tattoo on my person, but the only time that I experienced something similar to that chap that I was just talking to, being part of, feeling part of a group, when you spot somebody else in a crowd, he's got a tattoo and you see somebody else with a tattoo and it's like, right, mate? Like that. The only time I've ever felt that is when I had a haircut. Now, I never tell the hair technician what to do, because what's the point of that? You don't invite a plumber around to fix your pipes and then tell him or her, sexist, how to do it. They're the experts, so you just leave it to them. And I sit down and I just say, whatever, do what you feel. And some like that as sort of a challenge, and other hair technicians are really quite concerned at that, because they think they want a bit of direction. They think I'm the sort of person that would at the end of a cut complain and say, well, I'm not paying for that, but I never do. I don't look at them while they're doing it. I stare at a magazine or my phone, or if no magazine is available. And at the end, I think, thanks very much, and I go on my way. And this one time, a guy did what I would describe as a footballer's haircut. It was absolutely perfect. Not a single strand was out of place, and it was sort of sweeping. It was very tight, and it was almost like super glued in place. I've never had a haircut like it. It was like the sort of thing that you'd see on, like a footballer or a model or something like. I mean, I'm not, but from my scalp up, at that moment, I looked like one, and I just couldn't believe it that he'd actually given me this cut. It seemed like something that a normal, ordinary person could never even aspire to having. And so I walked out feeling like £1 million. £1 million! And during the course of the next couple of hours, I saw another bloke in the street with a similar haircut. I mean, he must have just come from the barber's, because it too was perfect. And we had like a little moment that lasted for maybe a tenth of a second as we passed each other. We just sort of, if you blink and you missed it, it was the subtlest of nods. Without saying anything, it was, yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. And then we went on our way. It was the most moving moment of my life. Sally texts, I'm so mad I can't find it now, but the best ever thread is moving on Twitter. Picture of William saying, no, wait, I'll read ahead and let's see where this is going on a minute. Right. Okay. All right then. Sally says, I'm so mad I can't find it now, but the best ever thread is moving on Twitter. A picture of William saying she was everyone's grandmother, and the various responses about their own grandmother, as in, what, smoked 20 a day and swore at the neighbours? And so on, says Sally. The things you're missing by not being on Twitter 24 hours a day. Oxford. Hello, Leslie.
Hello. You are a breath of fresh air, Nick.
Oh, thanks, Leslie.
And first of all, I'd just like to say, before anyone shoots me in the foot or whatever, I totally respect those who choose to queue and sort of pay their respect.
If that's what they want to do, good luck to them. I just don't think they should have to queue that long.
Can I tell you how I'm going to pay tribute to the Queen tomorrow?
Well, okay then.
I'm going Scottish country dancing.
Really?
The Queen was the patron of the society, the worldwide society that I'm a member of.
Which is what?
The Royal Scottish Country Dance Society.
The Royal Scottish Country Dance Society.
Yeah. She opens our AGM annually with a written speech. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I can just kind of picture her kind of joining in.
Yes.
Country dance we're having tomorrow evening.
And what is the process?
And I'm staying warm. I'm not freezing for 20 hours in the cold.
Well, that probably is what Scottish dancing was invented for, to keep away the cold.
Yeah, it's great at keeping warm in cold weather, absolutely.
And how do you join the Scottish Country Dancing Association? I mean, I'm just asking in case I accidentally do what is required to join and find myself in your company.
Well, we attend I attend a weekly class.
Right.
And you just pay a membership of,
Oh, you don't have to pass some sort of proficiency test?
No, I mean, like, we have beginners, we have people who have, like, 2 left feet, like my husband initially, but he's picked it up, so if he can pick it up, anybody can.
Do you have to provide your own swords?
No, and the exercise is cheaper than going to a gym.
Well, yeah, most unless you have to actually pay for all the kit.
Have you got to get your own? Get pricey,
right.
But I mean, like, for our weekly classes, like, it's about £3, like, for a weekly class.
Because you couldn't show up in your sweats, could you? You got to do all the.
No, so the men will be dressed in the kilt, so the more respectable than
Yeah. And what do you dress as?
I'll wear a nice kind of dress for dancing, so yeah.
Dress? Can you be a bit more descriptive than that? What's it look like?
I have a selection of dresses.
Oh, well, who doesn't?
Yeah, but it'll be a nice kind of flowy dress suitable for dancing.
I'll tell you what, Leslie, you'd look fantastic in a flowy dress. Show me how you dance.
I can't quite do that down the phone.
No, I guess not. No, I didn't think of that.
Anyway, I'll be. Yeah. But the Queen and the Duke and the Duke.
Right. So where will you be doing this Scottish country dancing tomorrow? In what location?
In London, but avoiding the queues.
In London.
But avoiding the queues.
Right, but where specifically?
In London.
No, you have to be more specific in case I accidentally bump into you doing your Scottish dancing.
No, but then you might avoid us, so I'm not going to say.
Precisely right, yeah.
We're having a 2-minute silence beforehand, though.
Right, very good.
And, she was a great supporter, to be fair. She was a great supporter of the society.
Yeah, well, glad to hear it. And the best of luck with your...
we will all miss her, particularly at our... Yeah.
With your cavorting.
Greatly missed.
Or whatever is the
She'll be
proper...
a very hard act to follow for our society, most definitely.
Most certainly, yeah. Okay, well, I wish you all the best with your, whatever it's called. What's it called?
Country dancing.
Well, yeah, but there must be another name for it than that.
Scottish country dancing.
Yeah, but there must be another name for it than that.
There isn't.
Isn't there?
Well, it's different to Cayley dancing.
Cayley, right,
no,
something like that, yeah.
We know what we're doing. Like, we don't have a caller.
It's not that dance where your arms look like they're super glued to your sides and you only move from the knee down. It's not that, is it?
Kind of.
Right. Oh, well, then I don't like it. Every now and again, can you raise your arms up?
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, then I'm fully on board.
That's more kind of Highland dancing, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, I wish you the best. I wish you the best of luck with that, Leslie. Do some warm-up stretches beforehand.
And then we do, yeah.
Promise me you'll do that. All right. Okay. Promise. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. This text says, do you think the Queen had tattoos? If so, what of? Perhaps Edinburgh. Right. Jay emails, can you believe that just a matter of months ago, all but Boris Johnson and his people were observing the 1 metre COVID distance rule, and now we're making people queue like lemmings while offering them a 4th jab? Well, that's true. I mean, COVID's still a thing, you know. That is actually very true. We're pretending like it doesn't exist. People are still dying with it. The queue part is completely unnecessary. It's as though they're making you suffer. just in order that you will feel, I don't know, more penitent when you get there. It just makes no sense. Like logically, it makes zero sense. So it defies logic. Therefore, there is no logic to that decision to make you queue. It's the plan. Now, why would they plan that other than to provide photographic evidence of that represents everybody in this country? But of course, it isn't everybody in this country. We do not all feel the same thing, regardless of what we're being dragooned into expressing. 1 million people think 1 million different things. We do not all think as with one mind. Rory tweets, tattoos should be taxed like cigarettes and whiskey. Well, cigarettes and whiskey, the consumption of is what will send you down the tattoo parlour in the first place. So you might have a point there, Rory. Dell in Boreham Wood says, it's just as well there's no more social distancing or that queue would be 35 miles long. Well, that's true too. That's true too. Ealing. Hello, John.
Yeah, I tell you what, how are you doing, Nick?
Good, thanks.
I would say that I reckon, the whole triangulation or the hexagon of the view to get towards the Queen's coffin is more or less to try and slow anyone down from getting towards Andrew.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, I don't know. He was standing outside it at one point. I've no idea, but I think you're bang on the money when you said something on the lines of they just want they want to show us that we're all walking one after another. I didn't feel a need to stand that line, but I do agree with you, about David Beckham being the only normally dressed person there.
He was dressed like he was showing up to like a funeral
with
service.
Respect,
exactly. Everybody else looked like they'd just come from Glastonbury.
Well, one fellow had a bloody St George's cross.
Well, that's kind of appropriate, I guess. Although a Union Jack would be better. We know how. We don't actually know how she felt about the Union, but we assume that she was for it. Got to go, John. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Travis from Southend texts, I used to do those dances, the Scottish country dancing, in primary school back home in Tasmania. How random is that? Random. There's nothing random about it, Travis. Johnny says, at what point will we be able to see the queue from space? Well, it depends what you're looking through, Johnny. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
0345 6060 973. Patrick tweets, it's COVID central in London from all corners of the world. Myself and my son both tested positive this week and I'm feeling proper rough, says Patrick. Yeah, if you're in the queue, then you can breathe out. Just don't breathe in. I think you'll find that is good advice. Here is Fife. Andy.
Hi there, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, just before going to my main point there about the Scottish country dance, and that takes me back, like when I was at school, we did Scottish country dancing, we done the Gay Gordons and the Apes and Reels and Dash and White Sergeant. I don't know if you ever did it when you were in Scotland. Maybe you didn't.
No.
No.
I would have remembered that.
I thoroughly hated it because I'm a terrible dancer.
Yes.
Anyway.
It didn't look like, I mean, I know what it looks like. It doesn't look like the sort of thing that you would have to be a good dancer to do. I mean, like rhythm isn't really a part of it, is it?
No, well, that one, the Dash and White. There's one I think where you go to one group of people and then you go sort of underneath each other or whatever it is, and then you go to the next set of people and oh my god, that's a Dash and White Sergeant. I don't know where they get the names from, Nick. Dash and White Sergeant.
Well, the way you described it, it sounds borderline perverted, but I'm sure it isn't. Perhaps you misspoke.
I'm probably not describing it very well.
No, I don't think so. No. Anyway.
But anyway, it's moving swiftly on, Nick. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to you, I was just wondering what your thoughts are now. Right, obviously, the union. There's been a lot of discussion about the possible breakup of the union of referendum in Scotland, and there's already commentators now in Scotland that are talking about because of the massive amounts of people that have come out for the Queen in Scotland, which is fine to show the respect, and down the route and in Edinburgh, people paid the respect. Did you? They're now saying that, well, people support the union now. They love our king, they love the Queen and the king. Yep. Do you think that might set back? I mean, obviously, I don't know what your opinions are on the independence of Scotland, but do you think that might be used by the British establishment now to kind of put the kibosh on anything? That'll be another excuse that's been used not to give the people of Scotland a referendum. Well, everybody was, pro monarchy, and everybody was out in the streets.
I think I would be willing to bet a small amount that within the month, the British press has all turned on a sixpence and started to attack the institution that they are revering this week. I bet that Charlie doesn't get long in the seat before they're talking about him being meddling and fussy, and he's sticking his nose in where he's not required, and he's not like his mother used to be, and
like the environment,
and so on and so on and so on. I think that just wait a couple of weeks, and the press's attitude to the royal family will be totally different.
Yeah, well, you could. I mean, I think already Commonwealth. I mean, there's already been like some of the Commonwealth, like Barbados, have already become a republic. Yeah. There might be. I mean, I don't think there's the same respect for Charles as there was for the Queen. Obviously, a lot of people love the Queen and all the rest of it, but there's been a massive hype in the media, obviously, as well about it. I mean, I'm sure she was loved by a lot of people. Definitely, we could see that. But at the end of the day, the monarchy now, I think there's going to be a lot of debate about it, whether it can continue in its present form, really.
Yeah, within the month, Andy. I'll bet money on it. All right, got to go. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. This tweet says, I can't believe that guy's been round the queue twice, showing double respect to Her Majesty, and here I am, just wanting to buy guinea pig food and some crisps from a closed Waitrose this Monday. Their guinea pig food line is the best. Tony says, I was stupid enough to have tattoos on my fingernails, but I've grown out of it. Oh. Paul in Paisley, thank God we didn't have to do that ridiculous Scottish dancing thing here in Scotland. Yeah, right. It's like kilts. Does anybody in Scotland actually wear a kilt?
No.
Well, apart from the guy that does the piping on St. George's, the George Bridge, the one that goes past the gallery, ends up in Princess Street by Waverley Station. Can't remember. It's a long time since I've been there. Croydon, hello, Mark.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Yes. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I'll get straight to the point.
Please do.
Yes, I will do.
Too late.
Go on to the queue. Talking about the queue.
Yes.
I think I solved the problem.
What
they could have done is they could have used the theatres to house the people that are viewing the Queen.
The theatres?
Yeah, the theatres. At least they'd be undercover in the Wolf, and there'd be toilets available there.
Yeah, but it's a constantly moving queue.
Well, what they could have done is they could have housed the people there, and say like the London Palladium, it'd be number one. So when number one is called, they give the signal to say, right, number one theatre, go and view the Queen.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And so forth.
Right. Okay. Right. I guess so. Except all of those theatres have productions that they're trying to sell tickets for.
Yeah, but
without a lot of success in many instances.
Oh yeah, but Liz Truss could have organised that.
Oh well, she could have done. Yeah. Leave it to Liz. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Mark. Leave it to Liz. Liz Truss is our Prime Minister. Can you believe that?
No.
I am stunned. When we're through this, come like Tuesday, maybe there'll be another week of it. Not full on, but there will be a point which will coincide with worse weather and the swiftly dawning realization that it's getting darker And summer's over. It's not coming back. Not this year. And we will see. It's almost like the colour will have been drained from our lives, and we will realise what we've got. That we used to have this bloke.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Who was an absolute ocean-going catastrophe, and they've replaced it with someone even worse. We've got a new head of state and a new government and a new prime minister, and we didn't vote for any of them. And they do seem to be, this government, it does seem to be winding up to be even worse than the last one, which is just an incredible achievement. An incredible achievement, Liz Truss. Even worse than the last one. Wow. Chertsey. Hello, Les.
Hello?
Yes, Les.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for making your call.
Okay. Well, I'm 75% deaf, so please bear with me.
75 years old?
No, deaf. Anyway, what I'd like to say is that since the Queen died, I understand that the government have got to take on security and protecting the public and protecting the royals.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really thought it through, because it started in Scotland and it's a mile-long walk for one procession, and there was a police officer at every 15 or 20 feet apart, all the way down both sides.
Yeah.
Now, if they'd have said, right, we get the armed forces to do that duty, and they got the same power as a police officer to arrest someone for whatever they're doing wrong.
Holding up a blank piece of paper, yeah.
Right, so then you've got 2,100 police officers available to do other duties.
Yes.
And there's no overtime and all this, that. The army get paid per week, and they do their job, which I'm grateful for. But with the police force, you've got to draft them all in. They're all on overtime and all this, that, and the other. You've got to find somewhere for them to stay.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's probably the best time to commit a crime. I said, can you hear me? I said it's probably the best time to commit a crime in history.
That's right. I mean, all the thieves and robbers and all that, they think, well, there's no coppers here. They're all down London.
Yeah, holy smoke, Les. You're a G. Would you like to be the Home Secretary?
Green Park. I think what we need is the right person for each job, no matter what.
Well, you to me are the right person to be Home Secretary. Can you start first thing Monday morning? Well, Monday's a day off. Can you start first thing Tuesday? Well, how about Wednesday afternoon? I'll pencil you in for Thursday lunchtime. Well, I'll take Thursday off. How about Friday? Well, it's too close to the weekend. Are you free in October? Thanks a lot, Les. I'm back tonight with the 1,001 emails that I didn't manage to read out this evening. I'll get to them if it kills me. And let me just, at the bottom of this is what's happening next. I'll just scroll down 10 pages. I'm going to be back on at 10 o'clock. Jim Diamond is here from 4. But first, it's Clyde Ball. It's Clyde.
Xa xứ mẹ tuôn lệ sầu chiều chiều mẹ đêm mưa ngâu mưa bao nhiêu hạt lệ sâu bấy nhiêu thương người ngày tháng quanh hiu con đi bỏ mẹ lệ mi con trai